Welcome to A Course in Miracles. We are reading chapter 18 of the text, The Passing of the Dream. And we'll start in section 9, The Two Worlds, paragraph 4. The circle of fear lies just below the level the body sees and seems to be the whole foundation on which the world is based. Here are all the illusions, all the twisted thoughts, all the insane attacks, the fury, the vengeance, and betrayal that were made to keep the guilt in place, so that the world could rise from it and keep it hidden. Its shadow rises to the surface enough to hold its most external manifestations in darkness, and to bring despair and loneliness to it and keep it joyless. Oh, bosses, this doesn't sound great. This is the world of man. This is being fear-driven and being hostage to ego. It doesn't sound great. Its shadow rises to the surface, enough to hold its most external manifestations in darkness and bring despair and loneliness to it and keep it joyless. Yet its intensity is veiled by its heavy coverings and kept apart from what was made to keep it hidden. I'll pause here and say, and so we keep trying to find meaning and keep trying to find pleasure and happiness in people, places, and circumstances that can't offer that to us because it's not where it's at. That's part of in terms of the attacks, the fury, the vengeance, the betrayals. It's keeping guilt in place. But we think that if we can just, the ego, I'll pause and say, the ego's insane thought system is that if we can be special or be the best, we'll get to a place where we're safe and happy. But actually, that's the very last place that will be safe and happy. It's leading you straight into hell while promising you heaven. The body cannot see this. For the body arose from this for its protection, which depends on keeping it not seen. The body's eyes will never look on it, yet they will see what it dictates. The body will remain guilt's messenger and will act as it directs as long as you believe that guilt is real. So we've learned elsewhere, I'm going to pause here and say, we've learned elsewhere in the Course that the Holy Spirit can repurpose the body. If it's hostage to ego and is guilt's messenger, then this is the world it creates. For the reality of guilt is the illusion that seems to make it heavy and opaque, impenetrable, and a real foundation for the ego's thought system. Its thinness and transparency are not apparent until you see the light behind it. And then you see it as a fragile veil before the light. This heavy-seeming barrier, this artificial floor that looks like rock, is like a bank of low, dark clouds that seems to be a solid wall before the sun. So I'll pause and say, so sure, for looking through ego's eyes, it's like, no, this is solid. Look at it, that's solid. But it's in reality, it's penetrable. It's as fragile as a cloud. You couldn't walk on it. This heavy seeming barrier, this artificial floor that looks like rock, is like a bank of low, dark clouds that seems to be a solid wall before the sun. Its impenetrable appearance is wholly an illusion. It gives way softly to the mountaintops that rise above it and has no power at all to hold back anyone willing to climb above it and see the sun. It is not strong enough to stop a button's fall nor hold a feather. Nothing can rest upon it, for it is but an illusion of a foundation. And I'll pause here and say, and that's why when we try to find rest there, we'll never find it. Try but to touch it and it disappears. Attempt to grasp it and your hands hold nothing. Yet in this cloud bank, it is easy to see a whole world rising. A solid mountain range, a lake, a city, all rise in your imagination. And from the clouds, the messengers of your perception return to you, reassuring you that it is there. Figures stand out and move about, actions seem real, and forms appear and shift from loveliness to the grotesque, and back and forth they go as long as you would play the game of children's make-believe. Yet, however long you play it, and regardless of how much imagination you bring to it, you do not confuse it with the world below, nor seek to make it real. So should it be with the dark clouds of guilt, no more impenetrable and no more substantial. You will not bruise yourself against them in traveling through. I'll pause here and say, so there's nothing to be afraid of. The ego is trying to make us terrified of this journey because it's saying, look, you can't get through that impenetrable wall. Oh, yes, you can. So easily that once you walk past it, you'll look back and wonder you were so afraid of that nothingness. You will not bruise yourself against them in traveling through. Let your guide teach you their unsubstantial nature as he leads you past them. For beneath them is a world of light, whereon they cast no shadows. Their shadows lie upon the world beyond them, still further from the light. Yet from them to the light their shadows cannot fall. The world of light, the circle of brightness, is the real world, where guilt meets with forgiveness. Here the world outside is seen anew without the shadow of guilt upon it. Here are you forgiven, for here you have forgiven everyone. Here is the new perception, where everything is bright and shining with innocence, washed in the waters of forgiveness, and cleansed of every evil thought you laid upon it. Here there is no attack upon the Son of God, and you are welcome. Here is your innocence, waiting to clothe you and protect you and make you ready for the final step in the journey inward. Here are the dark and heavy garments of guilt laid by and gently replaced by purity and love. Yet even forgiveness is not the end. Forgiveness does make lovely, but it does not create. It is the source of healing, but it is the messenger of love and not its source. I'm going to pause here and say this is exciting. The messenger of love is lovely and all, but what about its source? Here you are led that God himself can take the final step unhindered. For here does nothing interfere with love, letting it be itself. A step beyond this holy place of forgiveness, a step still further inward, but the one you cannot take. Transports you to something completely different. Here is the source of light, nothing perceived, forgiven, nor transformed, but merely known. I'll pause here and say, it says that final step you cannot take, but that God himself will take the final step unhindered for you. This course will lead to knowledge, but knowledge itself is still beyond the scope of our curriculum, nor is there any need for us to try to speak of what must forever lie beyond words. We need remember only that whoever attains the real world, beyond which learning cannot go, will go beyond it, but in a different way. Where learning ends, there God begins. For learning ends before him who is complete, where he begins, and where there is no end. It is not for us to dwell on what cannot be attained. There is too much to learn. The readiness for knowledge still must be attained. Love is not learned. Its meaning lies within itself. And learning ends when you have recognized all it is not. That is the interference. That is what needs to be undone. Love is not learned because there never was a time in which you knew it not. Learning is useless in the presence of your Creator, whose acknowledgement of you and yours of him so far transcend all learning that everything you learned is meaningless. Replaced forever by the knowledge of love and its one meaning. Your relationship with your brother has been uprooted from the world of shadows, and its unholy purpose has been safely brought through the barriers of guilt, washed with forgiveness, and set shining and firmly rooted in the world of light. From there, it calls you to follow the course it took. Lifted high above the darkness and gently placed before the gates of heaven, the holy instant in which you and your brother were united is but the messenger of love, sent from beyond forgiveness to remind you of all that lies beyond it. Yet it is through forgiveness that it will be remembered. Wow. And when the memory of God has come to you in the holy place of forgiveness, you will remember nothing else. You won't have to remember it. You'll know. You're it. And memory will be as useless as learning, for your only purpose will be creating. Yet this you cannot know until every perception has been cleansed and purified and finally removed forever. Forgiveness removes only the untrue, lifting the shadows from the world and carrying it safe and sure within its gentleness to the bright world of new and clean perception. This is your purpose now, and it is there that peace awaits you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being a way shore and a light in the dark and a beacon of hope. Beautiful one. We need do nothing. And all guilt and all condemnation are nothing but illusion. May we let that go. Letting go of all self-judgment, and then the judgment that when we have self-judgment that we project onto others. Peace begins here. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Mwah.